Hello, namaste. I'm Adam Lowen, and I do a little show called UnThinkMe, focusing on integral theory. Today we're going to have an awesome, amazing, unexpected video. I'm going to do a direct response, like almost like a virtual dialogue, with a video that was just sort of sent to me by someone who I've been communicating with about some of these ideas. So I hope you enjoy this.
It's fun drawing attention to myself. It's great. But yeah, I am looking forward to hearing Adam's thoughts on this.
Namaste. Hey there, Psychonauts. It's good to see you again. I have so much to share with you and so little time. A very funny, interesting thing has happened, and this video is going to be swept away in that. So we're just going to jump right in, and I think you'll kind of get what we're doing here.
So Adam and I had a very good conversation over email about green meme and how green meme fits into society.
I participate quite a bit in Reddit, anything related to integral, some stuff related to meditation, yoga. I tend to participate with the mindset of I'm like here as UnThinkMe spreading integral theory. So oftentimes I will make these contacts who are really passionate about integral theory on Reddit. Those will kind of often switch to like emailing back and forth, and this is kind of one of those circumstances. You know, there's not a lot of people out there that are like just normal old people like me on YouTube, just goofy, not talking about integral theory, interested in integral theory, passionate about integral theory, wanting to network with other people, build things, reconstruct. This is what I'm all about. This is why I'm sharing this with the world. Have like long-term plans that this would, become, a real part of, like a real integral part of my life, perhaps your life. We come to the actual terrain of Teal meme, when you actually realized through all these stages and you're kind of arriving at the second tier understanding of things. There's a lot of different kind of pathways that arise here. To speak for myself and a lot of the people that I'm engaging with, particularly in the UnThinkMe community, we're waking up, we're cleaning up to our own neuroses. We're becoming very aware of like how our story is actually clinically determined as a mental illness story, and how, just about everyone in the world, if you really were introspective, you would definitely see that there are some things that do need cleaning up. This is true of me, and if it's not true of you, it's probably really true of you. So it creates this burden of unfinished business coming from our past, and this is why my channel in particular, we're so focused on healing trauma somatics, because this is where everyone seems to be showing up to the community, is they're ready to address that, and it's a messy affair. So, as always, I'm not a leader of anything. I'm not an expert on anything. I don't really solicit the asking for anything. These exchanges are all equal peer exchanges. I don't give medical advice, but that all being said, I give opinions. I have really strong opinions based on integral theory, based on the experience, and a desire to be genuinely honest with the world. I find a kindred in this person, and I want to be, I want to share a lot of things with people, but one of the things I need to share now is when I started doing the podcast with James, I started to realize that not only are people interested in integral theory, but they're interested in me. They're curious about me. They want to connect with me, and I love to make these integral community friends. It's great. And I started getting this idea like, okay, well, these are really smart people. They all have really good points. They're all off on their own tangent. A lot of them are like better than me at this. So why not have them on the show? Why not? How about this thing like grows through the network and becomes like way more than me? And so I started by kind of going through all the people that I know personally that I've known for a long time, and that was a really that was not a good idea. They just, that's not what they want from me. That they want me. They don't care about this whole thing I'm doing nearly as much as I do, even if they wish they did or wanted to. So I had to really put the brakes on like asking my awesome, interesting, integral aware friends on this show because, for most people this is embarrassing. More importantly, there have been a lot of people who have attempted to we've started to plan it, scheduling, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to connect on this. We're going to actually start having meetings about this. It's 98% of the time that sort of explodes in a manner really similar to the way my relationships go, if you're following that track. Which again, none of this is a coincidence. We are elated with this idea that transforms the self, sets you free from everything you've known, and reorganizes the moral and necessity vectors of your personal existence. So this is a big deal for the people who are genuinely encountering it and who are encountering it authentically and are ready for it, and this is kind of where they're going completely aside from the fact that they're encountering me or integral theory or Ken Wilber. This is, according to the theory, this is just a natural stage that arises in society and the individual based on stacking complexities. This will occur if you assume complexities stacking. But there are noticeable milestones to this. We find ourselves well met here.
I am going to talk about my own experiences with green meme, my opinion on green meme, in addition to my experiences with Teal meme and Turquoise meme. I became green meme when I got involved in the Libertarian Party, which is a little bit unusual because the Libertarian Party is very predominantly orange meme. Whereas for me, I literally wanted the world to become a better place through libertarianism. So for me, it was my type of green meme. Whereas the most common type of green meme typically is the Democrat Party. However, over time, I finally learned that the Libertarian Party is not green meme, which Adam was able to educate me on. And it was very valuable to learn that, it was orange meme the whole time. That's why libertarians suck. Not that there's anything against orange meme, but I remember when I was orange meme myself, and I was quite the character at that time. So, no hate to my past self, but me at orange meme was very, I don't want to say cringe.
A lot of the stuff that I've been kind of avoiding discussing, politics, world affairs, and how Teal can really mobilize and get structured in today's world. Integral covers that a lot. I haven't covered it as much because I just wanted to really spend a lot of time on the theory, but this is sort of the direction we're going now. It should be fairly obvious that I'm left-leaning with conservativeness to me. And the speaker is coming from a pretty heavy libertarianism, and I was able to relate to that. I am a former Ayn Rand person, before Ken Wilber, Ayn Rand among a lot of others. So I really get the left and the right. I don't fall too heavily to one side, and I think that's pretty typical of the integral mindset to be able to call out the nonsense happening on every side and to lock down on things that'll always be true and necessary, to honor all the different sides, but also to stand firm where it's just regressive, it's just ridiculous, it's not sustainable, it's dangerous, it's first and foremost regressive or shadow-based behavior, outbursts, reactions. And that's a lot of what you see in turbulent times, is developmental angst that can be catastrophic. But more to the point, we as aspiring, how do I make my actual real life into that integral lifestyle where there's art, there's spirituality, there's this like social thing. The career is rewarding, and I'm right livelihood. I'm doing good with the work that I do, that I get paid for, and it's enough, and everything's okay. This is the situation we're facing as just like, sliding out a green meme, getting into teal meme. There's a lot of this whole new thing where you're not that person anymore. You're not an identity. You're existential. There's no value. There's all that happening at once, but we can't ever deny like this ladder, this rainbow of lower levels existing in the context that we're experiencing in the gross realm and in the world of thought forms that you can be free from. All of this is just to say that we introduce all these different vectors, and I'm of the mind that, yes, to be aware of states creates a sort of necessity to get to know them, for you to take up some sort of legitimate spiritual practice. On the other hand, the integral mindset is very aware of the hazards and the dangers and the uncertainty of that path, especially when you factor in that this whole thing, this whole like alternative spirituality, New Age spirituality, integral theory, all of this is like magnetizing to people who have a sort of outsider bent, who are maybe neurally different, maybe have personality type differences, maybe people who are working through heavy trauma. So these people get outsidered, and that sort of grants them this meta perspective on things sometimes, which may allow them to kind of break through into second tier modes. But that very same person is stricken with the reality of those lower levels never really go away. They're haunting you still until you really are able to make it through them. So this is the shadow work, and this is the true developmental work. This is why you can't just go doing, doing, doing right up the stages. It's not easy because it's a coordination of the lower with the higher and emergent, not an alienation from everything that came before. Those are sort of the themes we're going to cover here, because I think this is a great spine to this idea of starting to talk about more contemporary world topics. I was going to do this anyway, so it's really nice to have a partner in that. So the last thing I'll say about all that is like, this works really well. If people want to send me like thoughtful, wonderful videos like this, I'm so grateful. I can't believe anyone cares enough to do so. I'm more than happy to share my thoughts. It really helps me to stay organized and to know that I'm kind of delivering something that at least somebody wants here. And I really like too that it puts no like pressure on me. Like I take no responsibility for these people. Like that I take care of me, and I share, and I'm here to be there with you. But we're in the trenches together. I don't, I'm not responsible for people's outcome as they pursue enlightenment or as they like overturn their whole existence. This is a part of the process that I go through, I have gone through, I do go through, I will likely go through again, this massive upheaval. And in a sense, there's really nobody who can help you with that, but you definitely don't want to, you want to find who those people are. You want to know your support and your safety in your life. I'm safe to share things with, but that's about as far as it goes. I'm not competent to really deal with anything. But if you don't need help and you just want to collaborate and work on integral theory and build second tier structures from imaginary to decreasingly imaginary to actually like, this is what we do. So I'm extremely grateful and touched by this gesture. You'll see like he's extraordinarily put a lot of thought into this and is humble and open to whatever is, just very much yearning for some solidity and to kind of make sense of how this whole thing really fits into real life.
So I ended up becoming Teal meme about, I don't know if the second tier is considered memes or not. I should have watched more of Adam's videos. The one that I love the most is the one that's an hour and it goes into types and quadrants and it's a comprehensive review. I watched that one. 2024, 2024, around August and September, I went into Teal meme. And at the beginning, I thought it was great. I thought, wow, I'm so much smarter. I'll be able to find employment now. I thought it'd be very easy. And I realized that that was not the case.
I've struggled a lot with this, a lot in my life. It's created like really serious problems for me. I know that you and I have some things in common. And so I just want to really quickly just tell you like what's been working, because I've been getting really good results lately. For a person like you, take the thing that you do really well, just one little thing, not your whole you, not your fantastic everything about you, but just take one thing that you know a lot of companies need, or the company that you want needs, and you know you can do it even on a bad day, and you know that it doesn't expect anything that you can't do. Just take that thing. It's so hard to do for a person like myself, but basically your most sellable deliverable, micro deliverable that you have, and write a whole resume just on that thing. You're just proving to everyone that thing, I'm the guy for it. You can count on me. I'll do it. And as you approach in applying, interviewing, I'm doing freelancing, any sort of like job related anything, your whole deal is that you like doing that thing. You're eager to do that thing. You're really good at that thing. You want to learn more about that thing. If anyone wants you to do that thing, you're the guy. And just keep that going. Learn the buzzwords. It is the opposite of how an integral thinker works. But if you just want some cash now and nobody's letting you into the job market, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a shape that fits into a hole. You can develop your career. You can make it your own thing. You can create Teal meme organizations, but if you just need some cash now to enter into that amber meme, orange meme world, you're just making it look like you're not even going to notice anything about me except that I will do this job well, and I'll like it, and I'll stick with it. And just keep it constrained to that.
But anyway, back to green meme for a second. The problem with green meme is, although they have good hearts, and that's important, it's good that they have good hearts, it's good that they care about humanity, it's very important. However, a lot of the bad type of, well, I don't want to say bad type because there is no bad type of green meme. Everybody in humanity is special in their own way, except the evil ones, except red meme. We hate red meme here. I don't know if Adam agrees with that.
Yeah, it's 100% just a joke to me to bash on green meme. A lot of Teal meme is serious about that. Levels usually don't like the level below quite a bit, and definitely levels don't like the level above. And first tier, nobody likes anyone. Yeah, so I did the entire integral theory as Aquila Latus, the Aquil theory, 5 modules, lines, types, states, quadrants, levels. Within levels, we have these 12 stages, the altitudes, and yes, they're all memes. They're all kind of equivalent as structures, as we're conceiving them as holonic structures. And the top 4, the third tier, are very speculative. They're based on sort of mystical practices. They're based on Eastern spiritual practices predominantly, but states of consciousness realized as levels in self-culture and nature. The middle to the second tier, Teal and Turquoise, is what we're really talking about here. This is where an individual, as consciousness, begins to see the world through a sort of lens that resembles integral theory by nature of being meta to the postmodern perspective, being able to operate upon the postmodern perspective, the existential green meme, sensitive pluralist perspective. Okay, I'm open-minded. I see pieces of all the patterns that everyone puts out. But now you're in a creative role. What do I build? What does this mean? And what does it make me? Who am I? What is this? What are we doing? And Teal starts to kind of build this ladder of Eros towards what we can speculate as those higher levels. But this is the first time we've really had an up arrow of that sort, where I'm not there yet. I don't even know what it's going to be like to get there, all right? This is a different way of seeing the world. I'm not finished. I'm an adult, but I'm not finished. I got to mature more. I got to develop and evolve more in order to get to where other people in my world are at. There are people there. I've seen that, so I can get there. Also, very important to point out in this discussion, any discussion, they are fluid. They come and go. You have sort of a baseline, a center of gravity that's kind of becomes your default character. Under challenge, you might go lower. On a good day, you might go higher. Also, we're not talking about one thing, the self-as self. We're talking about lines of development, different parts of yourself, which are proxies for a supposed overall self, which is an imaginary construct, you know. So we're working with what we think we are as we develop here, and we don't really. What you're talking about is you have these big epiphanies where you're like, okay, whoa, like this thing described as the Teal level, I not only get it, but I think this is what reality is. That's when you're like, you are the level, you become the level or whatever. You're thinking the level in the way that I put it. Now you have to also feel it and do it. But integral theory is largely about thinking and lets you go from there. We're trying to do the do here, but at first base is thinking, and the home run is we're all doing it together. It's a meme in the world. Teal is what's up. So just as another quick mini guide, I do these all the time, so I just had to unpack that a little bit, and some of the dynamics that I'm going to get killed by the integral police if I don't point out all these little dynamics that can be cause for misunderstanding. This is a key distinction of the Teal meme perspective, is to not villainize or elevate any of the levels, the high ones, low ones, any of them. So here we're talking about red meme, and so if you're familiar with red meme at this point, these are your Egyptian Roman empires, these are your hillbillies, right? Rednecks, what have you, rednecks. But so understand that the way we conceptualize the red meme is not on its own terms. It's in a very amber, orange, green, which is what we are. This is how we think of what red meme is. But to kind of put yourself in those shoes, it's high school. We're saying, come with me. I'm safe. I'm strong. Nobody's going to mess with me. I've got everything under control. I'll tell you what to do. Everything will work out. And that might turn out creepy, and it might not. That might just actually be a very forthright person, your old West gunslinger, you know, like I'll make sure everything's okay. I don't let anyone mess with me. That's red meme. That's good. Solid, healthy red meme. That's, I get pantsed in front of all the girls at school and my cousin goes and beats you up. That's red meme. So of course, I mean, I've seen the corporate world. It is that red meme health, that ability to make harsh decisions, quick decisions, to persuade people to do something that they don't really want to do, that often makes the difference. Not in a good leader, but in a leader that's effective enough to make a lot of money. And this type of person, if they happen to get into that lifestyle, they can be very successful in the business world. I think this is a lot of what we're talking about, and this is a lot of what we're looking at with this movement toward corporate oligarchy. Is we're often trying to, as cultural critics, determine, you know, what is the nature of the character of an Elon Musk or someone like that? You know, what are they really up to? What's really going on? And these levels are a good part of understanding that. Is it this green meme desire for a kind of good that nobody's even really thought of yet? Is it a desire to have power and control over others and to win the game against them? Is it simply, I want the best for myself and fuck everyone else? So, you know, there's your green meme, your reddish meme, and your orange meme. Is it, I see this, the world, the universe, the self, as a developmental evolutionary system, and I want to do whatever it takes to accelerate and nurture the health of that evolutionary system towards a continued development towards a spiritual heaven on earth, ultimately. You can hear Elon Musk is a great example because you hear him make statements from all of those perspectives to some extent, and it becomes the green meme cultural critic's job to sort out how truly authentic that is.
I don't know how, it's funny. Second tier has the target on their back, but then red meme rules the world in special little ways. It's very funny. It's like you have to be lower in consciousness to have success. But anyway, the problem with a lot of green meme is they're correct in a lot of what they feel. However, many of them, and it's not even their faults, it's just the way the economy shifted over the years, is many people in green meme, of the most common type of green meme, live with their parents, and they don't have to have an income to support their entire living situation. They might supplement some of their expenses, but they don't have to worry about housing because they're living with their parents, which there's nothing wrong with living with your parents, especially in this economy. It's very hard to afford to live. So it's not necessarily their fault, but it's not teaching them certain perspectives that they should have to have a more well-rounded understanding of their opinions. Like, they're correct in feeling the way that they feel, but if you were to truly struggle with money and to truly have to support yourself completely, gives you some very bad perspectives on money, to be honest. It's very scary. It's much scarier than most of green meme could ever imagine. It's worse than they could imagine. They're actually more oppressed than they already think they are, which is very shocking. But unfortunately, the Democratic Party isn't here to save the day because there's lots of red meme in politics, and red meme doesn't care about green meme. They just want their vote. And so they'll say whatever they're going to say to get their vote. And there's a lot of lying involved. There's a lot of double standards and a lot of hypocrisy. And I'm surprised they keep getting these votes time in and time again. It's like, why aren't the Democrats delivering on their promises? What's with all the lies? What's with all the hypocrisy? I mean, just for me, for example, I'm struggling to find work.
Likewise with green meme, I think what we're talking about here is sort of a person who's not really maturing all that much through the amber and orange levels, but is sort of in a family system of green meme. You're sort of San Francisco or Denver, Colorado, or what have you, family. Now, there's a lot of green meme that did, cut their teeth in that world. These are your academics, your professors, your high-level scientists, engineers, these sorts of things, literary types, and even religious people. So I think we're talking about we're talking about this culturally prevalent, this popular version of green meme that's a trend, that's a fad, that anyone who's into genuine kind of like hippie values is really into, at this point, the beatnik value, not the kind of cultural fadification, the wearing it as a costume side of it. And when we're talking about green meme today, I think it's really important to understand that there are these like two vastly different types of green meme. One is sort of a superficial amber wearing green meme, orange wearing green meme. The other one is like the educated person soberly assessing the world, aware of the movements and thought that have occurred over the last 100 years, critical of culture, self, critical of all the systems that exist, and open to new ways of conceptualizing what we're doing here. Very positive thing, and should be seen as such, especially by those who practice it. We are self-deprecating, and we are understanding our true insignificance, and our own pathos is becoming more elucidated to us. So This tends toward alienating the self, othering the self, and not taking a leadership position in the existent structures. It's more of a reaction against them, the deconstruction. And that is not very useful, that reactive anything. We all know the green meme that holds hands and chants and does beautiful things, truly beautiful things that had never been seen before in the world. We also know the green meme that is just totally full of itself and is totally a baby. It comes in all flavors, and a lot of that is informed by prior development or lack thereof. I just feel like libertarianism makes a great deal of sense in theory and could make sense in practice hypothetically. The trouble is you have this whole world. This is a lot of political ideologies fall this way. How do I introduce this into society without like starting my own world or whatever? Like, that's another topic. And you find that like if you have an ideology that most people don't agree with, it's impossible to implement. Like, number one on ideology for politics is like the people have to agree with it and want it. So you get to this problem of like, well, how do you deal with people who don't want to be libertarians? How do you deal with people who don't want to be communists? And now what? Like shoot them, like lock them up. Okay, wait a minute. Now this is a regime. This isn't a political structure. Libertarianism kind of precludes the rule of law. Like that's like the private sector now or something. We find that there's all these like splinter cells. Like libertarianism really inevitably means a whole bunch of things. Like libertarianism is in like no government, like minimal government, like with currency, all these different kind of packages, which is kind of the basic. You got to slim it down then to say like, well, what can we actually practice today? Well, we want to just kind of like make government smaller. And okay, now there you go. That's like what we're actually saying at the end of all this. Like, idealistically, I want this utopian society where like merit is perfectly doled out and the people in power like perfectly deserve to be there or whatever. I love it. But we are currently existing in a world that looks nothing like that and never has. And you have to get from here to there. So now you're just saying, well, we're just going to like slash programs. We're just going to like take stuff that's in the public sector and move it to the private sector. Well, okay, like how does that go for you when you do that? Well, it results in like massive corruption because like nobody's overseeing these like public programs like police, prisons. Is this desirable? Well, yeah, because we're perfect and we never go to prison. Sure, but I think libertarianism is the most like rubber hits the road kind of ideology, in that it's like so attractive, but like it can't really ever happen. It's not really like a political system. It's like an ideal. And I suppose you could say the same thing for capitalism or any ism of that variety. In terms of the political situation, I really have to like take the time to spell this out. I think libertarianism made sense before the 1990s, just in America, I'm saying. There was a threat of alienation from the means of production, There was a threat of government encroaching, the corporatization of our world and globalization of our world through the corporations. But it hadn't come true yet. It wasn't finished. We weren't being spied on yet, explicitly to our knowledge at the time. I sit here on Upwork and every single job is replacing a real job with an AI job. The world will be run by AI very, very soon, very rapidly. At about the 1990s, the tech kind of shifted where it was possible for someone to own virtual space, for someone to be the person who owns the public utility that everyone must use to be a human, And that's morally debatable, but just the fact of the matter is everyone has a phone. A phone. Mobile phones are like complicated gadgets, and like homeless people have them. Kids have them. Everyone has them. Elderly people don't know how to use them, and they have them. It does everything. It's a little computer. Whoever owned that company, whoever owned Amazon, whoever owned social media, They own the world. To whatever extent we don't stop that from happening, the world. Now libertarianism doesn't make sense anymore. This is what I'm saying. Because we don't need people to compete. The AI competes. Competition's like done. It's like sexual selection. We don't need that anymore. You're guaranteed a babyhood. We can make you in a bottle. We don't even need sex anymore. And we don't need work anymore. So how do we handle that? We have the Dune future and we have the Star Trek future. Corporate oligarchy owns planets. People do whatever they want. All the problems are solved. And it's just a matter of philosophy of distribution. So as labor was necessary, innovation, ingenuity was necessary, libertarian and orange meme libertarianism made a ton of sense. It just is the solid driver of that. And those Ayn Randian objectivist values make sense in that context. But the moment that the real problem starts to be that individuals are becoming more powerful than governments and products are no longer like physically real, now it makes no sense at all. Now what we need is compassion and education, rehabilitation, and therapy. Those are the things we need. And this is your green meme, right? So here's that bridge. Just like he's saying, that green meme kind of otherness, that outsiderness, we want them all to come together and be leaders, but they're all outsiders. They're all others, rebels, alternative. That can manifest as libertarianism. That can manifest as all sorts of different ideologies and isms. So, the idea that green meme as a utopian, idealistic notion is not at all like foreign to me. That's what Atlas Shrugged is. Then we get to where the rubber hits the road, and here we are.
Here's a good social program. How about we have a queue of government jobs that are specifically allocated to the unemployed? So if you're unemployed for let's say 6 months or longer, then you get to enter a queue. And then after a certain amount of time, you get a job on a silver platter, like a government job on a silver platter. Why don't we have a social program like that? We don't. So the Democrats are useless. They're useless for other reasons. If the Democrats actually did what they said they were going to do, then I have no problem. Then we're actually talking literal politics. Speaking of literal politics, all political parties have their issues, including the Libertarian Party that I used to like. When you get to second tier, once you get to Teal meme, you begin to realize that politics is a waste of time and energy because your vote might count, but the politicians in charge aren't going to have your message at heart, no matter what the party is.
Here's what happens. We're in Left World. We're in Portland, Oregon, and we say, okay, well, look, let's solve this problem. We have all these people out on the streets. Let's train them. Let's give them a really nice position. Let's give them something to strive for, something to hope for. What do they do? Come on. Well, they don't show up. They scream at someone. They screw it up, is what happens. And that's why when these programs do happen, they're more like cleaning up stuff by the side of the road or like stacking chairs at a convention, because I'm going to be very not left now and say that there's a reason why someone isn't finding work. It's a lack of amber and orange meme development that I have. I have trouble finding work. And that one of the main things about that person living on the street without a place to go, a lot of them may be very, very, you may have compassion. You may be a very sympathetic story, but there is something stopping them from entering the workforce. And it's not the system, it's that they won't do what they have to do at the correct time. In fact, among non-homeless people, this is problematic. I mean, this is why we have such complicated credit hiring, all this crap you have to go through with HR and screening and vetting for rentals. It's because in general, you can't trust people to want the smart thing for themselves. And this is where I'm really conservative. I think that, X amount of people are kind of like lemmings, the video game where they just like walk off a cliff. And you could block that once, but they'll just do it again. Life is sad. People make the decision that they don't want to do this anymore. Fair amount of them. And whether that's actually like literal or just in the sense of kind of being checked out, now I'm talking about nearly everyone. Just, I don't really want to be here. I don't really want to do this. That is not going to work in a government office job. They're going to get in trouble because they're not, filling their quotas. But what I really do agree with is I think that the left goes too far in these left-leaning American cities. I think there's a lot of people on the left and the right that agree with that, to where you're not even really you're really offering incentives for a person to stay homeless and stay unemployed by making it so comfortable and easy in that location, and you're keeping the people in that location, and you're encouraging like long-term solutions for them to stay in the parking lot of that grocery store now that they're allowed to have a tent and they're allowed to use the bathrooms and everything. That's compassionate, but there's not a ramp out of that available. That's not where the energy is focused. The energy is focused on sustaining that lifestyle. And as grim and as dismal as it sounds, it's a lot like leaving sugar on the floor. Bugs will come and there'll be bugs, and they'll just be there until the sugar stops being there. A lot of homelessness is caused by political events, natural disasters, pandemics, political immigration, various things. A lot of it occurs because it's easy to do. And in Portland, being homeless is easier than the work that I did. And I was jealous of homeless people who stole my vehicles and didn't get in trouble for it, and broke into businesses that had to close down because there was no law enforcement, because law enforcement is racist. It's you can't pick one or the other with ideology. Ideology is the death of peace. It's not a hard thing. It's a sober assessment of all the possibilities, and it's a constant battle between my position and everyone else's position for everyone. That starts from the very beginning, from people assuming control and creating systems of control and creating systems of control. I've characterized the world itself as green meme because the tech base is green meme. We are a global corporate interlocking community, but the leadership is not green meme. There are global programs and treaties and alliances, but they have no teeth. Corporations and countries are more powerful than them. To have leadership, they have to be at least comparable in power to any individual national or corporate interest. Otherwise, we can't really say the world is fully green meme. It's not doing green meme, it's feeling and thinking green meme. So that's where, if people ask me where the world is, we've talked about it a little bit, it's orange meme and it is thinking green meme, but orange meme is utterly destroying it, and it needs to have leadership for the world to be saved for the ensuing couple of decades, or maybe even the ensuing 50-year period. Requires that either green take the reins of its own values and ideology, or that teal meme assembles this into something that works. Just as an American, a little old school, I have to say, if voting makes any difference at all, you should do it. It's one of the only things you can do. Consumer choice is a much better way of expressing your political opinion. That's what'll actually work in a corporate oligarchy. But just because voting doesn't do what it's supposed to do, and just because you're choosing between lessers of evils, it's definitely not a reason not to vote. Because the problem is that Red and Amber meme are very good at voting, even though they don't really believe in what they're voting for or understand it.
Now I did talk about the most common type of green meme. There is a type of green meme that is very valuable, and that's the green meme that is in the working world, who has to provide for themselves. If they're still in college, if they're still in high school, they might have charisma. It's the charismatic green meme that, or even just the ones that are working and providing for themselves, and not relying on others for money, like a significant other. The ones that are actually providing for themselves, they have the perspectives they need to be a healthy type of green meme. And it's the healthy type of green meme is probably my favorite type and my favorite color. So now I'm going to get back to Teal meme. I became Teal meme around August, September, and it happened because I was struggling to find employment. And so I was like doing mindfulness. I was trying to improve myself as a person, hoping that if I improved myself as a person, it would be easier to find a job and to hold a job. And so I rewired my brain and became Teal meme in August / September, which was right after A Dark Night of the Soul. And I thought everything was going to be better at that point. I had a much more optimistic view of life. I was very excited. Unfortunately, I had a target on my back because that's what it's like to be Teal meme. You have a target on your back. And so I was threatening. Like, employers found me to be a threat because I was Teal meme. They were afraid I was going to take their job in the future. And so no one wanted to hire me. And then the ones that did hire me would either rescind their job offer or they would fire me super quickly. It was pretty ridiculous because here I was an improved individual. I worked on my mental health. I became a better version of myself. And it was harder to get a job than it already was. I had more success in my career before I became Teal meme. That was unfortunate. So in the beginning of January, I'm like, oh, I'm going to stay Teal meme forever. I like Teal meme. I don't like turquoise because I experienced the turquoise state a few times in Teal meme, and I'm like, nah, I like teal the best. What ended up happening is I went through another dark night of the soul. There's really only one way out of the dark night, or out of a dark night of the soul, and that's through it. And then so what ended up happening, I think it was 2 months ago, I finally came out of the dark night of the soul, and I entered the stage of turquoise consciousness, which was ironic because I didn't want to become a stage turquoise consciousness. I wanted to stay in teal. I liked my personality in teal. I liked the way it felt in teal. I didn't really want to go any higher. When you go through a dark night of the soul, you crave happiness because you're just surrounded by misery. So rewiring my brain at that point was really my only option. And so I did, and I got turquoise consciousness. And one great thing about turquoise consciousness is you can clear your head a lot easier. It's just more natural. There's a lot more peace in your head. And it's more effortless and it's nice. It's very, and it's kind of addictive in a way, but it's a subtle addiction, but you stay that way and it's very nice. Or so I thought. A few days after when I got into turquoise meme, I experienced a very big side effect. And it's such a big side effect, I would say, unless you go through a dark night of the soul in teal, you just you shouldn't even want to go into turquoise at all. Because it's a very big side effect. And I imagine other people could have the same side effect if they go into turquoise. So I would not recommend it. And the side effect that I experienced was I became susceptible to psychosis. Just a few days after getting into turquoise meme, I took an edible, and it wasn't even that high of a dose of an edible, and I experienced a non-dual state. I don't know where that is in the levels of consciousness. I don't know if that's clear light. I don't know if that's indigo. I don't know if it's somewhere in between. THC edible put me in a non-dual state, and it was really, really, really cool because all of my surroundings were like it was an illusion. Like all of life was an illusion around me. It was really cool.
Yeah, guys, be careful with those edibles. If you don't smoke, and if you don't know, I've smoked for like years, and I don't smoke for years. It goes back and forth, and but I have been a heavy smoker for sure. And I think that the appeal of edibles is like, oh, it's a tasty cookie or a gummy or something, and I don't have to smoke. Like smoking's like hardcore. You should do a vape pen, maybe. It's edibles are pretty intense for someone who's not used to weed. You don't have much control over the time span of it. And sometimes it feels like nothing happened and you're like 20 minutes in, so you consume more. It's very common, very, very common for people to be hospitalized at house parties from eating edibles knowingly often. And yeah, don't think of them as like a safe alternative to smoking weed. If you want to smoke weed, smoke weed. None of my business. It's great. You go ahead and get a pen or smoke it out of a bong if you're old enough. That will be cooler for you and safer than consuming edibles. I can almost guarantee. I worked in the cannabis industry, and I just noticed this trend. People think like the edibles are going to be like less intense, and it's, oh boy, no. Much longer lasting, and they mess with your sleep, and they make me feel funny inside too. Now you ask about sort of breaking apart the states, and it seems like when you have a state, you know you're having a state. I mean, it's not a false. There's no false like states. It's like, holy crap, I'm having a state. You know, it's very clear. You're very like seeing that you're not the thing you always thought you were, or you know. The trouble here, like, don't try and identify what state it was necessarily. Just understand that you had a state. You're not really. It takes a lot of familiarity with that realm or some system, you know, whatever system you're talking about, whatever tradition you're coming from. We don't even really have standardized vocabulary for this. That's a goal of Integral. So I would just say I had a state, and maybe you're describing this sort of progression through things. Like it may have been one of those really big breakthrough states. You can have a causal state out of nowhere. So these are like shattering, and they can feel like enlightenment or non-duality, to the extent that it's a form of union that you've never experienced before, or communion. It's a sense of being the all in every case. I wouldn't put it necessarily at like the non-dual. Non-dual is very strange and can be thought of as sort of a different character. It's sort of like a flow state that occurs from the origin point of the causal perspective, or like without origin point. But you have to have pretty good grounding, I would say. I would argue, as far as is known, you have to have pretty good grounding in that causal state as a pretty solid structure before the non-duality starts to really become recognizable to you. And it may occur before that, but you can't really know the difference. And I would say that's kind of true of all of these. So that sort of sets a course. And as you have these sorts of states more, you'll find there's sort of like different galaxies that they inhabit. But if you were aware of physical forms around you, if you were participating like as a person embodied in the world, it's likely a psychic state, one of those barrier dissolving states. If you were actually kind of experienced yourself as being in a somewhat different realm, like totally different realm, like this thing around us seemed like it was just of a different character or substance and is sort of communicating with you directly. And if you are understanding the generation of yourself, your thoughts and feelings from their origin point, from their source, words truly fail us. This is very transverbal, and I'm not an expert at all, but that would be your subtle realm. That would be your subtle states. If you're aware of the entirety of everything being without content, without form, illusory, vast space, empty. This would be sort of your causal. This is just pure consciousness reflecting on itself. So if there's anything specific going on, it's not causal. So anything you say, it's just you're like, no, it doesn't work. But and then so if you have come to identify yourself as that pure consciousness, that formless, empty suchness prior to time that is everything forever, and that is the base, that is what you are as you engage now, as you always were, as a person, as a personality, as an ego, as a body, as the earth, as the Americans, as the white people. That would be kind of non-duality. That would be like the Bodhisattva is aware of the enlightened state and is returning to the world of forms in service of allowing all of us to learn what this is so that we can all be free together. That's sort of the non-dual morality. Understand, I'm painting a target on my back by saying any of this, because it's totally wrong and everyone hates me and they all know better than me. Sure, I'm no better than them in that sense. We all have opinions, but this is all transferable. You know it when you're there, and when you're not there, you don't know it and you can't know it. And really, you can never know it. It's unspeakable. There's reasons why this isn't taught in grade schools. With regard to targets, a little bit of an overstatement. That's what it feels like to us. It's like when I came out as trans, I had a target because I cared so much, because this was new to me and I wasn't comfortable with it in my identity. And as you get first into Teal, you can be kind of like, you want to share it with everybody. It's blown your mind. You want everybody to be in on the joke with you. You want to, let's build together. Let's do this. Like, I'm serious. Like, we're all Teal. Let's rock. And they're very alienating. They're very belittling because of what you've learned as Teal meme. You know already. Their goal is orange meme. I know everything. I can fix everything. Why would I need your weird idea in order to be the coolest person with all the money and the happy family? Like, what do I need you for? You know, everyone has their angle. It's the model that we're talking about. You know, this is, Ken Wilber tries to push like 5% these days. I don't know what's up with that. I'm not really seeing 5%, like maybe 5% like at the cognitive level where this could make sense. But I don't know, people who are really acting from second tier values, like really in their day job, in their lifestyle, bleh, yeah, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000. My opinion, I'm a little more conservative than Wilber, probably. Just if you're not being orange meme, if you're not being green meme, if you're not being amber meme enough, that is a target on you. Those are various targets on you. So the parallel work, or the horizontal work within Teal, is that re-owning of those. It's like, okay, I'm not orange anymore, but I need to use orange. So I need to be chameleonic. I need to be able, if I can't fool you into thinking I'm orange, I can't really say that I've outgrown it. And that comes to challenge me with red meme. If I can't stand up for myself, I can't really say I'm Teal meme. If I know that you should be persuaded of something, but I'm too unassertive or bashful or deferring to persuade you to do that, I am not healthy enough red meme to really be a holistic, integral, second tier being. So we have to work on all these things at Teal as a horizontal thing. That's why I'm saying there's so much work to do here, and it's wonderful work. It's great work. We're enticed by the promise of higher levels and higher states as a liberation, oftentimes, from our inability to find fulfillment at those lower levels. But as we get to higher levels, it also even though we're abstracted from those lower levels, it also gives us the tools we need to fulfill those lower levels, to get a good job, to have a family if that's what you want, to find your place in this, to fit into this system, to feel empowered and safe and wanted and loved, and that you're contributing and participating in a meaningful dialogue, that your life has meaning. These are the lower level things that we want, and there's nothing wrong with wanting them. And now that we see them all, now that our eyes are open, we can pursue them ethically and with full knowledge that it's all just a goofy game that you play when you're a monkey creature, a meat sack. I want to drill down just a little bit on this thing about turquoise now. Let me relate to you with my experience. Like, when I was in college, I was really obsessed with integral theory, and I was really thinking Teal meme for the first time, and I really felt myself moving into that land, right? And with that came this understanding of spirituality and meditative states, and of course, because it's in the material, but I had very little experience with it prior to that, and I didn't believe it was real at the time. I was like, okay, well, all this other stuff is intriguing, so damn, are states real too? Because I didn't even know what like meditators do, like why they do that. And I was a college kid, so I tried it. I tried all this stuff. I tried meditating and lucid dreaming and kundalini yoga and tantric practices, like all this like spiritually stuff, all these different teachers, all these different authors. And yes, it's real. Oh, okay, that changes everything. And as I started actually having genuine states of consciousness, I would be hesitant to start labeling them yet. If they're your first one, you probably don't really know what's what yet, but you had some sort of union consciousness. You had some sort of transcendent state. It was recognizable as such. You say, oh my God, it's that thing. That's it. This is it. I'm doing it. If those can be very shocking that this can just be reality. In fact, probably is reality, you know, this view that you've never had. Freak out, total freak out. I consider that, for me, it was entry into the psychic states, those states where it's like, oh, I'm only imagining my location, that I'm here in this spot. I'm just imagining that. That freaked me out. It's scary. And time, that this is just one eternal moment forever, like that's freaky when you're not used to it. And don't even get me started about like reincarnation and that sort of that. I got really, really scared. I wouldn't say psychosis. I did have some panic attacks, and it's a long-term coping process. But I wouldn't make that necessarily equivalent with turquoise. And I wouldn't say like turquoise causes psychosis. What I might say is like, you're just discovering teal, and now you're breaking into what feels to you like turquoise. You're jumping there, like you're not ready for that. If then also not just turquoise, but you're also having like union states, you're also like, that's a whole different kind of birth trauma. That's a whole different set of things to deal with all that at once. Yeah, now I'm seeing psychosis as a possibility, you know. You couple that with some drugs and some heredity, and yeah, you've got a cocktail. This is it's not the most, like, we could say this is dangerous, but we're predisposed to mental illness in the first place. It's like psychedelics. It's bringing out something that's already there. So yes, it's dangerous. Being brave is dangerous and will lead you to places that you didn't think you would go. What that should signal to you, and what I hope it signals to everyone, is just to be really safe and understand you have time. This isn't a thing that you have to do. It isn't a thing that anyone has to do. It's just a thing that became available as you became aware of it, and it seems to be really central to the mystery of human life. That's all you need to take from this. And if you're feeling some sort of resistance or some, you don't want to think of it as shadow. And I think you're right. I don't think it is shadow in your case. In my case, it might be shadow. But in all of our cases, there's something occurring it might just be a lack of coordination, but you can't skip stages. Whatever the next one is we really ought to just feel it richly and integrate your lower levels with that. It's a slow process. And since we've just become aware of all these stages, we're really eager and excited. But to be real with you, if you're an adult and you've just broken through to Teal, you probably won't make it past indigo in your lifetime unless you're a really remarkable person. You'll probably have some states, some serious, intense states, into the subtle and causal in your life. You probably will accomplish that if you've made it to Teal in young adulthood. Just back of the envelope stuff. But for anybody at Teal, feeling that ambition, feeling that drive, it's a sort of mania that occurs in early Teal. Just to whoa, this is the world. Evolve, everyone, evolve. What's wrong with you? Evolve. Wake up. That goes away. Life is very long. And a lot of the development that occurs in Teal is realizing just how tall of an order waking up, growing up, cleaning up, showing up really is. Because we're no longer just talking about abstract ideas that laterally relate to what's really going on. We're really saying, like, you're going to spend 6 hours a day on your spiritual practice, if that's what you do. I mean, that's a pretty good prescription. So be happy to be at Teal. If you've made it here and you understand what our problem is, you've made it really far. And I know that a lot of you have had great difficulty making it that far. And this is glad to have you here. We're grateful and proud. And we know what it takes to get here, and it ain't easy. So nobody needs you to get to the top unless it's you, unless it's spirit saying to do that. I'm a man of great passion. I'm very slow. Teal is awesome. Teal has been decades-long exploration. There's so much terrain here. There's so much going on, and birthing it into the world, into mainstream popular culture, is really a big part of what fulfills me as a person. So I know most of us do, but I don't really feel that strong compulsion. It is just another one of my hobbies to engage with states and be on that path and be open to whatever it may yield.
I let my ego go away. I let go of my ego completely. And then I was trying too hard to hold on to the state. And then I was also trying to interfere with my surroundings. And those are three things that I think caused me to go into a psychosis. And so after experiencing the non-dual state, I went into a psychosis. And the way a psychosis happens is, and I don't know where this falls into the stages of consciousness, because if non-dual is indigo, which I don't know if it is, then maybe the psychosis is a little bit higher. But the way it felt like I kept getting to higher and higher levels of consciousness. So I would go higher. And it just felt like it just kept going higher. It just felt like the state of consciousness. And then my brain was like, it felt like I was getting more clarity. And I was super confident too. And I was very disruptive. It was a big mess. And at one point I even went into a fugue state, which is like infrared, I think. It was very disruptive. I got into a lot of trouble for it, and I had to pay a lot of consequences. So now I can never do THC edibles again. And it's not just THC edibles. There was an antidepressant that I tried called Lexapro, and that also sent me into a psychosis. Now, that one, it was a lot more subtle. It happened more gradually, but it still happened. Being in turquoise consciousness has made me completely susceptible to psychosis. I've never had this problem before. And I imagine that other people who are in turquoise will also have a likelihood of it happening. I imagine it would, because when your brain gets too advanced, it can't handle certain substances. Now, the question is will I be susceptible to psychosis if I'm on no substances at all? I don't know. I'm too addicted to being turquoise, so I don't really want to revert back just because there's peace in my head. But the downside really sucks.
Just again to restate, I'm not trying to contradict your position by suggesting a cart before the horse scenario. I agree that these higher levels and definitely higher states can trigger a mental regression, mental illness, psychosis, temporary things, physical things. They can be dangerous. I'm also saying that higher levels, higher states are attractive to people who are a little different, whether that's mental illness, personality, different, like I've said, this will appeal to the outsider. And so, you say you imagine a lot of people reaching these levels are struggling with things. Yes, I can tell you a lot of us are struggling with, I'm not saying that these are triggering. I'm not saying that these states and stages are dangerous per se, but that they're waking the dragon that's been guiding you subconsciously this whole time. That's dangerous. That's giving you the leash to that dragon. It's very dangerous. And what we need to try and do, if that's who we are, and it's who I am, we have to make that former disability into a superpower, into the tool that is our human vessel. So if I have long stages of extraordinary motivation and then medium long stages where I can't face the world or accomplish anything realistically, and I've just woken up to that, and I'm not explaining it with some weird story anymore, but I'm saying this is my vessel, this is my mind, this is how I work, completely changes how problematic that condition is. I'm meta to it. I'm objectifying it. As I'm not in an extraordinary high or low, I can make plans for it realistically without lying to myself, which is what shadow is. What I would argue the difference in real life in terms of personality, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of what you really see, my opinion, teal to turquoise is starting to bridge into states. Maybe they're doing it a lot, maybe they're doing it a little. They become transparent and they become reflective. They become teachers. And that requires a thing that you can't really fake, a genuinity of intent and a boundarylessness, oh my gosh, a boundlessness, let's say, between you and everything. We're suspending that boundary, but now we have to live that. Can I bring that into a relationship? Can I bring that into my work? And as you become hip like that, I think that's what you see in turquoise. Teal is still like Agent Smith. Teal is still like a pretty abstract thing that's just become aware that it isn't the person you're interacting with. It's kind of creepy. All the male memes are creepy when you put them in the abstract. So turquoise is the reverse of that. Turquoise, when you're secure in your integral holistic being, and now you're starting to web out and allow connections, solid, real, and you feel an inevitable emotional gravity around the turquoise meme, because you know you're looking at yourself. In the turquoise dialogue and in the turquoise expression, there's so boundarylessness. There's so much boundarylessness that it's inevitable that you'll feel someone really deeply if you're both on that level, in a way that is hard to find elsewhere. That's what I think about Turquoise. I think that Teal interactions can be very superficial and very efficient, very sleek and organized. And you know, inside those are very deep and very emotionally rich, sensitive people. It's just, I feel like we're all a little closeted at Teal. We're just ready to start dumping toys out of the toy box. We just found out we had them. We're not competent at it yet. In any case, a person should probably clarify what Dark Night of the Soul is. I've heard so many different kind of spins on it. I can say I don't think I've necessarily experienced it. I've mostly experienced like mortal and cosmic terror. But I think what this is, just from my essay, when you have that breakthrough state and you realize it's your true identity, your original face, it's what you've always been, it's your birthright. And then that goes away, and now you're this thing that you know is an illusion again, and you feel isolated or cut off from whatever that thing that was so true and real before, and you don't even, maybe you can get there, but like, oh my God, this thing is creating all these like pressures and needs on you that you don't want this. You know, I think that's kind of what it is. And this is what Integral's for, as opposed to older spirituality, the integral thing, the non-dual stage, the Teal stage is all about re-owning the lower, reintegrating the gross, re-inhabiting, re-embodying at those levels. So Integral should be a lot more Dark Knight proof. It sounds, from what I understand, it's just a thing. It's like just a pitfall of enlightenment that happens quite a lot. It's pretty common. Some people can be in it for decades, and it might just be like a fleeting thing. But it's usually sort of the bell tolling, like that you're making it somewhere, and it's a scary kind of decision point that freaks a lot of people out from the path in general, and it can be very disturbing. That's all I know. I don't really know what it is. I haven't experienced it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on Dark Knight. I think that there's I think we can agree there's like a wide range of opinions on it.
If anyone wants to know how to get into Turquoise, and which, full disclosure, only if you're going through a Dark Night of the Soul in Teal would I even half suggest it. Even still, it's you want to get through the Dark Night of the Soul, ideally staying in your same level of consciousness. You don't want to go to a higher level of consciousness. The easiest way to get to Turquoise, and how I got to Turquoise, is first, when you're in a Teal, you always want to be learning new things, and that's always just a side effect. So you just keep learning. You just follow the YouTube algorithm. You listen to your gut. You listen to your discernment. You don't listen to everything you watch, but I don't think you need to do that to get to Turquoise. That's just something that you're going to do in Teal. But the two things, if you want to get into Turquoise, the two things, and again, I don't recommend it because there's side effects, is the first thing is understand that the observer self is also another illusion, meaning the ego self and then the observer self. You kind of get rid of both of those. You realize that you don't even identify as an observer self and an ego self anymore, because you're using your brain to think about those. So now you're actually the observer of the observer self, and now there's another observer self, and then it keeps going, keeps going. There's a very good YouTube video on it. I wish I knew how to find it, but there's a good YouTube video on it.
You might be talking about the Daniel Ingram videos. He's sort of one of the voices of like meta-modern, very interesting stuff. I don't want to talk about opinions on that necessarily today. Cool stuff. I like it. What you're describing sounds very much like a very ordinary explanation of that witness, the sort of causal pre-causal area, where your own self-sense is felt to be this sort of the fact of experience itself, maybe. And you then are looking at it, you're aware of it. Okay, so what's aware of it? Now that thing includes this other meta, and there's this infinite stacking, like when you point your video camera at the TV, there's this infinite illusory self-generator that should kind of crash into the beach of non-duality, of just simply the awareness itself without any like awareness to it, from it, in any direction, just the whole experience, pure non-dual flow. But these are all words, and I don't really know how those words relate to experiences you had or experiences I've had. It does sound like you're recognizing in these descriptions something that you've experienced, which may very well be a non-dual arena of a non-dual like realm of experience. These are very rare to happen spontaneously. It's not unheard of. And also, it might be a lot more common because people would have this experience and not really recognize it and not describe it as such. So maybe there's a lot of like unreported cases of this where someone just like had a freak out and they don't know what to call it. They thought they were God. And there's definitely versions of that aren't authentic states too. It's delusions of grandeur and things like that are also very commonplace with mental functioning.
So first is that, and then the second is letting go. So you just keep saying to yourself over and over again, let go, let go,
Let it go, let it go. You are king of the wind and skies.
You let go of so many different things. So you just keep saying to yourself, let go, let go, let go, let go.
I'll never let you go.
And you keep doing the let it go. There's another good YouTube video on letting go, and it explains better. But then you also have to let go of letting go and let go, let go, let go. But those are the two different concepts and YouTube videos that got me into Turquoise. But again, only if you're going through a dark night of the soul in Teal. If you're happy, if you're having a good life in Teal, don't even do it. Just don't.
And you're referring to a specific trigger phase. That probably won't work for everyone. You have special phrases and triggers that'll work for you. For me, yeah, like letting go is good. I say the whole thing, just over and over. And surrender is big for me. I'm a vigilant person. So it feels like an emotional surrender to the absolute. Effortless is a big one because I am a tunnel vision person. I'm a completionist. And the times that I've had transcendent states, it felt very effortless. It was like, oh, the whole thing that wasn't allowing to get me there was trying and caring and wanting and striving and yearning and pushing. And then you just like cut it out. And then there you are. I've heard like, I'm a light bulb. You know, people have all sorts, some of us are more tactile, visual, all sorts of different brain types. So the triggering incident and what the enlightenment experience is to any individual, I think it's sort of a rainbow of how you conceptualize it and what works for you.
As far as society and world peace, there's many people who talk about turquoise. They talk about, ooh, wouldn't it be nice to have a turquoise society? But it's not nice to have a turquoise society because the human body is flawed, and we're going to have a bunch of people susceptible to psychosis if we have a turquoise society. And that wouldn't even happen for hundreds or thousands of years anyway. So we don't need everyone to be turquoise to have world peace, especially because there's going to be a lot of people who are susceptible to psychosis if that happens. So what about teal meme? Is teal meme good for world peace? I don't think teal meme is good for world peace either, because there's that separation between the second tier and the first tier, and people in the second tier have a target on their backs. So because they're going to have a target on their backs, the first group of people that become teal meme are going to have very hard lives, and they're going to have targets on their backs, and they're going to be, like subject to, I don't know the words, but I'm saying the word hatred, but not literal hatred. Scrutiny. They're going to be subject to scrutiny.
But see, this is the whole thing about being awake, is we can take a sponge and we can wipe that paint off of that target. This is the whole thing about self-awareness. If you have a target on your back, you have to get rid of it. We have to be chameleons. This is what I'm saying. And so if we can hang with that, then is teal good for world peace? I think it sees that green's good for world peace and wants to enable and promote the organization and leadership of teal. And I think that it comprehends the situation well enough that it would be interested in creating global systems that ensure that we're sustainable in an orange meme and a green meme sense. But yeah, if you're talking getting the whole population or moving the tech base or political base to a Teal meme structure, yeah, that's so premature. Like, we haven't even really nailed green. So I completely agree. And we should really understand these levels in terms of diminishing frequency. The higher levels are less stable, shorter duration. That's by design. It's just how it is. The higher you climb, the more the ladder sways. Stuart Davis lyric. But there's always going to be more lower level. Always. Because they exist within us as structures too. So for every teal meme, there's one more red meme out there. And that's not true in reverse. There's the potential of a teal meme in every red meme, but it's not actualized yet. So these become sort of a resource, a commodity, levels. That's the teal meme currency. It's like what level a thing or a structure or a system is. This is the pathology of teal meme, the kind of failure to adjust is the whole world's not coming with. They don't want to, and you don't want to force them to. That's what's up. We need to honor and acknowledge and embrace the teal that's already here, that's already out there, and we need to organize in a way that green meme is incapable of as teal, if in fact that's what we are. But that's a tiny, tiny thing. We're dreaming of being 10% of the population. We're dreaming of being 5% of the power. What a world that would be. So it doesn't take a majority or even like a plurality. These are very powerful memes. They have to arrive there healthy, you have a lot of power just intrinsically as a piece of capital, and you're aware of what your potential is. You're self-actualizing as well as self-actualized. So if this is true, then it should be a very good thing, and we should have less trouble being born into the world. As you know, who has a target on their back is Jesus, the paragon of amber meme in red meme world. Who has a target on their back? Copernicus, the paragon of orange coming into an amber meme world. Who has a target on their back? San Francisco pot smoker in short shorts in the 1960s, right? Every new meme has a target on their back. It's not intrinsic to teal, it's intrinsic to evolution. The new structure is competitively dangerous to the old structure, of course. So security is part of being a level, keeping yourself safe. This is where we do fine up until green meme. This is what they need, is security. So I want to encourage us to think more in terms of like tiny, tiny baby steps into that world, not like this massive revolution, this massive uprising. I think that's how old systems evolved. This one is very insidious. It comes from within. It is in us already, waiting to be born. It's I don't think we have to kill people or lock people up. I think it's us growing up and waking up together. It's a whole different jam. And we don't sit here and ask why it isn't happening. We are causing it to happen. That's what teal meme is.
And so in order to get to world peace with teal, a lot of people are going to be miserable in order to get there. So I don't think that's even relevant for world peace. I think world peace will happen when we have a healthy type of green meme all around. And by healthy type of green meme, I mean charismatic. Everybody is playing by the same rules when it comes to if there is a financial system. If there is a financial system, then everybody understands how it works. So everybody is responsible for their own bills. And in order to understand how money works, you have to be responsible for your own bills, because it shows how when you have to provide for yourself, you learn how truly how truly evil money really is. And you don't know how truly evil money is unless if you have to provide for yourself, unless if you could go homeless, unless if things could happen to you. So money is quite a scary situation. It doesn't have to be a scary situation, but in our society it is. Green Meme has to understand the consequences of not having enough money. So when we have a healthy type of green meme and everyone's green meme, that's, in my opinion, is the best path for world peace. I did speak with Adam about this earlier, and he mentioned orange meme would be good because then at least things would be logical, and I agree with him on that. I like to get ahead of myself. I like to go far into the future. It's like, ooh, man, world peace. I like to go all the way to world peace. But yeah, I like to get far into the future. But the good news is, in my opinion, I don't think we need to get to second tier. In fact, it's probably better if we avoid second tier. And then maybe when we do have world peace from a bunch of healthy types of green meme, then the people that do go into the second tier will be better supported and they won't be ostracized. So, including the turquoise memes who are susceptible to psychosis, because that's fun.
I'm going to put on my goofy economics ascot for a minute, but I don't villainize money. That's my own position. Money to me is a tool for converting value into other things besides work. And what's evil, what's threatening, what's problematic is just value itself, that it can be stored, that it can be amassed, that it can be unearned. In money, it makes it evident. Money just brings it out to the light. Are there problems with money? Hundreds? Yes. Yeah. It's better than barter. It's better than slavery. But money has all the problems that Orange Meme has, and all the potentials for corruption. Money has become a focal point as like crypto is being taken more seriously and deflation's occurring, currency, money, whatever. I think that, yeah, we're fine, in just looking at, if we consider money just an Orange Meme thing, we're fine just saying like, you can have an allergy to money that can be harmful. You can have a fixation on money, the amassing of value that becomes gluttonous, or it can be, more anorexic. It can be like, well, why don't you just earn some money? That's more my deal, not caring about money, caring too much, right? But in the middle, there's this thing where like, you got to work for value. You got to store that value. You got to plan for winter. Winter's coming. This is just good old fashioned. I mean, this is like Amber Meme. This is like early stuff, just basic preparation. And in that sense, money is just this very harmless, innocent tool. It makes the work that we do faster and more accounted for, in theory. Yeah, so this is where we're talking about, like, if you get everyone, or if you get the world, the power of the world, like, to a stage, what do we really need it at? So it's kind of Amber now, and it's kind of tribal warfare. We say tribal, but that has a more lower level meaning, but it's more like wars between absolutistic camps. Is characteristic of kind of the issue, the problem with our world is the amber and the red. And so, yeah, like if Orange Meme really had control over the whole global political situation, we'd be facing injustices and degradation of the environment, things like that. But it wouldn't be like as barbaric and gross, and there wouldn't be the threat of like nuclear catastrophe, things like that are like so preventable. And for heaven's sake, if you got the power to green meme, like it's just like an almost unconceivably utopian world. Like, I don't think that'll ever really be the thing. And I think it'll always be this kind of war of the worlds occurring on one planet. But we'll see this centralization and consolidation of planetary power to higher and higher levels that will kind of sneakily, like shadily, make things more contained and better, and allow those, what a lot of people consider negative or dark energies, allow them free exercise within a context that is like isolated and the context is at the level that the behavior is arising from. And the problem is you give those like Egyptian pyramid builders machine guns and tanks and helicopters and stuff. It's like, this is the problem. The hijacking of higher level gear by lower level interests. And it's so evident to Teal meme, but it was like invisible at all levels prior. So that's why Teal meme's like good for the global awareness. But we're not talking about it taking full power. We're just talking about it having more power in any of these cases. So we're really just trying to get the world up out of red and amber a little more. I mean, if that's kind of the Teal agenda, really. So if that means getting more green up to Teal, good. If that means getting people into transcendental states, good. It's all good. Any up, any wake, any more in any consciousness. It's a religion of consciousness. Just consciousness. More awareness. Oh God, I just went like the whole video trying not to use your name, and then I realized like on your monitor it says your name. So hi Ryan. I didn't know whether I was supposed to or not, so I was just defaulting toward safe. I never know. Yeah, so I don't know. I hope this is satisfying for you, Ryan. I know I'm just kind of riffing with you. I hope that's kind of what you had in mind. Like I don't have any big advice to give you. We're soldiers in the trenches. Like we're in the same struggle. And yeah, I'm not any sort of authority on any of this. You are just as much as I am. And it's been my supreme pleasure to have this talk with you. I'm very impressed with the effort that you put in how cogent and thoughtful this all is. I'm just blown away that you care enough to do this with me. And it really means a lot to me in the development of this unThinkMe thing. I hope to do more of these with you and with others. This is a great format for me, for all my foibles and whatnot. This really works, and I hope I'm not being like oppressive to you. I think that your video all by itself is really great, and I just wanted to kind of treat it like a real dialogue, like we're just here kind of shooting ideas back and forth. I hope that this helps you to feel and to know that what you're doing isn't some weird like phase thing. Like it's not stupid. It's not a waste of your time. This is an important, even if we're all wrong, even if we are just on some weird tangent, it's just self-evident that this is worth your time. This is worth looking into. You know that you're looking at something real here, and you're trying to make sense of something that our society doesn't really talk about. We're in a weird taboo place together. And I want to say it like you, as much as anyone, are seeing what's going on, and what you have to say and what you're going to do about it is important. It's important that we all are continue to be graceful and patient, and that we take this seriously without letting it sabotage us, or without taking it to any sort of extreme. This is just a framework that you may or may not decide to live with your whole life. I have lived with it most of my whole life. I find that it does nothing but good, and I find that it is a cause for ridicule and ostracizing if I allow it to be. But if I take myself seriously, and I take the message seriously, and I believe in myself first before anyone else does, and I go out here and I tell everyone what I think, as Teal meme or as anyone, I have been pretty blown away, pretty lifeboated by the response that I've gotten. Maybe that wouldn't satisfy, maybe what I've done here wouldn't satisfy most people. I'm a weird person. This is extremely satisfying for me. Not everyone wants to make a YouTube channel that people talk to. That's what I want to do. And I'm getting that out of this passion. What you want is probably a bigger deal than what I want. And I just wish you the very best of luck. And I know that it's going to be difficult. And just know that you can always come back. That this world gives you endless chances. The motives that you have, the reasons for the things that you're doing appear from my perspective to be of the very most benevolent and necessary and important things that a person could be struggling with in this time. That's my own personal opinion for what it's worth. And I hope that that's worth something, even though maybe I don't have like any answers that everyone else doesn't have. But we're here together. That's what I have to say. We're here together. Namaste to you. Namaste. Hit that like, subscribe. Join us on our Discord. Got a website. Been releasing for about a year now. It's just about there. Just about ready to release, I swear to you. So keep in touch. I'm doing some yoga videos. It's sunny out. And I got so much to share with you.